A pleasure to meet all at last. And now, with 2 more installments to go on HJN Nature Book, why don't we go ahead and do ice for number 2567. So, let's get on with it. I've previously discussed fire, which I can more than consider as the polar opposite of ice itself. However, apart from the bitter rivalry that ice and fire might share with each other, there's probably a lot more to it than just the fact that ice is colder than fire. Ice is in fact a large segment of planet Earth entirely. As you probably know by now, there's never really such a thing as a fire land on Earth itself, though some people have come rather close. Deserts, for instance, happen to carry up lots of heat, especially such locations like the Mojave and Sahara. But when it comes to ice, it is a much more common and existing form of landmass when it comes to Earth itself. This is usually apparent when it comes to the poles, the North Pole and the South Pole, which in each of those spots, they are well into the negative zone in temperature, which will explain why they're almost always covered in ice. But as we know, ice is in fact possible because it is made by liquids such as water going beyond the freezing point, which is 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And ice itself is manifested as a solid, typically speaking. Though there is such a thing as ice water, which is mostly made from cold water, usually coming from room temperature water mixed with that of ice. And while that's technically seen as a common piece that will not allow water to become ice as easily, there's always the usage of ice making, which has been allowed to make water into ice simply by having it frozen beyond the point of freezing below 32 degrees. And let it be known that ice itself has been known to cover more than just the poles itself. In fact, we are in the middle of winter, a point where water does turn to ice more frequently. And not only that, the water droplets that usually fall from the sky that's considered rain now comes in the form of snow, a nice white fluffy stuff. Some might look to it as a form of torture due to the way that it can actually cause various problems for people. There's always the risk of getting snowed in, a process in which that snow builds up so high that it becomes an overwhelming task to try and clean up. But on the other hand, a lot of people take snow as a unique opportunity to explore, to have themselves some fun with equipment they would normally never get to do when it's warmer outside, to basically have certain styles and fashions that would normally not be great when it comes to warmer weather such as summer or spring. But maybe we could see ice not just being a fabricator of both snow and cold stuff, like our ice creams and popsicles, but to also look at it as a real segment of life itself. Because after all, the poles aren't just necessarily seen as barren wastelands. No, there are actual animal species that tend to live in those areas. Penguins, polar bears, just to name a few. So we can't say that life itself is non-existent in those areas, even there's lots of people who have actually explored those regions entirely. Humans have even built structures in those areas as well. So you could say that a good majority of people actually happen to have a certain acquaintanceship with ice and snow as a whole. And do keep in mind that snow is the same sort of thing as ice, just a bit more on the softer side. No pressure, really. But let's be real. Snow and ice are things that not everybody will like. But to be fair, as warm-blooded organisms, it only seems fair that humans could go in a colder climate and live well with it, rather than trying to live in a hotter climate where such animals like alligators and other cold-blooded beings would probably be better off at. So, nothing really too out of the ordinary here, but also in a way. There's some that might have their own preferences. But you know what though? We got one more installment left to go here in Nature Book, and I'm more than willing to simply roll with it. So I'll see you guys later on in HJN, and as always, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.